Hello, so creative, it's Faustina here. Welcome to another interesting tutorial. In today's tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to cut and sew this beautiful dartless skate, pencil skate. A neat way to sew both the skate and the back slit. You can see how neat it is, how you can use your lining and achieve this effect. I'm going to teach you everything, so keep watching and let's dive in. This is the working material I'm working with. Is 2 yards of damask and also 2 yards of lining, cotton lining, and the zipper, and also our drafting paper. We are going to firstly draft out the pattern before we transfer to fabric. So let's get straight into our drafting table. I've gone ahead to lay my paper very flat on the floor, so I'm marking out the starting line into several places, which I'm going to rule it out like so. So after ruling out our starting line, the first thing we are going to mark is from that starting line, we are going to mark out where our hip is going to be. So you're going to measure your client's waist to hip line. Your waist to hip line is a fuller part of your hip, and you are going to input it into several places in order to get a straight line, and which we're also going to label as well. So we are drafting the front first. So from my hip line, I came down by 10 inches to get my knee line. But should in case you have your client waist to knee line, you can go ahead and put it from the waist to knee line. So from my waist, I'm going to impute the length of my skate. You can see that the paper was not enough, so I had to attach extra paper in order to complete the length. So after marking it, I went ahead to come down by extra 2 inches for the hemming of the skate, which I rule out like so. So we are done with all the vertical lines. We are going to proceed to mark all the horizontal line, which is the body circumference, which on the starting line, mark out my waist divided by 4 plus 1 inch dart intake. I know it's a dartless skate, but keep watching. So on the hip, I mark out my hip divided by 4, which I joined all over to my waistline. On the dart line, I added 1 inch dart line. So for the penciling, this is how you get your perfect pencil. On the knee line, you mark out your hip divided by 4. On that value, you come in by 2 inches. Let me redo it. You mark out your hip divided by 4. From that, your hip divided by 4, you come in by 2 inches, which you're going to use a straight ruler to rule it all over to your hip line. You can see that it's giving that pencil effect. Instead of marking directly on that hip divided by 4, which will give it a basic skate line, you rather come in by 2 inches in order to give it a pencil skate line. And on the hem line as well, we are going to repeat what we did on the knee. Our hip divided by 4, we imputed the value, and after marking out the value, from that value we came in by 2 inches, and we are going to use a straight ruler to rule it all over to the knee, which will give it a very straight pencil effect. So this is how the secret of getting your perfect pencil measurement. So in total, we minus 4 inches because this is half of the skate. When we double it, it's going to be 4 inches in total. So we went ahead to impute our dart line and also open up our dart by half inches on both sides. So this dart now, remember, is a dartless skate, pencil skate. We are going to do something to it, and watch closely. So on the waistline, on the center front, I came down by 1 inch because our waist is not straight, our waist is curvy, while on the side I went up by ½ inch in order to give it that curvy effect that the front of our waist has. So I'm going to close up the dart line like so. I'm going to close it up and tape it down with my masking tape. I went ahead to join these two lines that I just marked now. From my waist, I came down by 1 inch. By the side, I went up by ½ inch, which I joined like so, to give it that curvy effect that front waist used to have. So after giving it the curvy effect, I went ahead to fold my dart on my paper, which we don't need the dart. Like I said, it's a dartless pencil skate. So this is how you achieve it. You draft on your pattern, you close your dart on your pattern. before you transfer to your main working fabric. And that is it. We are done with the front skirt and I went ahead to cut it out. Remember I said this is the half of the skirt. The center front of this pattern is going to be on fold. The center front is going to be on fold. So we went ahead to draft the back. So on the back I've gone ahead to mark out our starting line, coming down by our waist to our hip line into several places, which I rule out as well. And from that waist to our hip line, we're going to also come down by knee line, which I said we came down by 11 inches into several places. But if you have your client's waist to knee line, you can go ahead and input it. So after marking out the knee line, indicating the knee line, we are also going to, from the waistline, which is the starting line, come down by the length of our skirt into several places and also rule it out. I'm repeating it so that in case you don't understand the first vertical lines we added, you can also use this one to understand it. So after adding the length of my skirt, I came down by 2 inches to mark the hemming allowance, which we are going to use to turn the hem part of the skirt, which I mark as well. And I also went ahead to label it. So for the back, from the center back, I came in by 1 inch and I taper it all over to my hip line, because our center back is not straight because of the presence of our butt. Our center back is meant to be curvy in order to eliminate zipper bulge. So from the 1 inch I came in, I'm going to input my waist divided by 4 plus 1 inch dart intake as well. While on the hip line, I'm going to input my hip divided by 4, which I imputed. I'm going to rule it all over to my waistline, from my hip to my waistline, using my pattern curve. While on the knee, this is how you pencil your basket of your knee. Is not the same with the front. So we are going to mark out our hip divided by 4 as well. But from the center back, we are going to come in by 1 inch center back, and while side back, we're also going to come in by 1 inch. So remember, for the front we came in by 2 inches, while for this back we divided the 2 inches into 2, and we mark it both on center back and on side back. You can see how pencil the back is looking. Yeah, so make sure you watch the video from the beginning to the end so you don't miss any part. And on the hem part, we're also going to repeat the same thing, mark out our hip divided by 4. On the side back, we are going to come in by 1 inch. Center back, we are also going to come in by 1 inch. Center back is the part that the zip is going to sit. So let me tell you what the center back means. So I'm going to rule it in a straight line using a broken line. I went ahead to join it like so in order to get a pencil effect skirt. And I'm also going to repeat the same thing on the side back. Using my broken lines, I join it to the knee line, and that is it. And I went ahead to rule it like so. So moving forward, we are going to go ahead and start working on the waistline. So on the waistline, we are going to input our nipple to nipple measurement as well, and also open up our darts by half inch on both sides. While on the hip line, we are going to go up by 2 inches. Like the depth of our darts is 2 inches away from the hip line, and I open up the dart leg like so, and I went ahead to draw my dart. So after drawing the dart, remember we went up by the side by half inch for the front. We're also going to repeat it for the back. By the side back, I went up by half inches, which I rule it all over to the waistline like so. And that is it for the back. So remember, it's a dartless skirt. We are going to go ahead and close the dart like we did to the front, so that we can go ahead and cut out our pattern. We don't need that. So once you close your dart on your pattern, it's going to give you a perfect fit on your main working fabric. So this is how you achieve your dartless pencil skirt without stress. So after closing it, I'll go ahead and cut out the parts that we just drafted right now. So watch out the cutting part. After cutting, we are going to transfer all the patterns to fabric. So I've gone ahead to cut out the back, and make sure you label so that you don't like misplace it from the front. So after labeling, this is the front while this is the back. I've gone ahead to transfer them to fabric, and this is how I did it. While on the side back, I added 2-inch sewing allowance. On the zipper side, I added 1-inch sewing allowance. While for the slit part, which is that part that we open at the back, this is how you achieve a perfect finishing. You are going to measure the length of your slit from your hem line. You are going to measure it from your hem line. Remember, I said we added 1-inch zipper allowance, so I'm going to reduce that 1 inch, that place I marked now, by 1/2 inch all over to my hem line as well. So see what I'm doing there. So I'm going to reduce it by 1/2 inch from the place I stopped, from the place I want the slit to start. So I'm going to now remove that 1/2 inch I just marked out now. So this is how you get your perfect slit finishing. Once you turn it with your lining, now I'm cutting with the lining. Once you turn it with the lining, everything will rhyme. It will sit very properly. You will not need to hem or fold anything again. The lining will fold the slit away. So this is how your slit should look. Why the lining is 2 inches shorter than the main fabric, because you want to use the lining to hem the down part like so. So when we use the lining to drag the hem part, is going to fold. So this is what the back of our pencil skirt is looking. So we are going to start turning with the lining right now. So this is the front, and I'm basically going to place the lining on top of it like so. You can see clearly from the video that the lining is shorter, so I'm going to drag the lining to the hem part. Once I drag the lining to the hem part, the upper part is going to be short. So this is how I sew. After dragging the lining to the hem part, I'm going to sew the hem part first before I now drag it back to the waistline, before I now sew the side of it on the lining part. So I'm basically going to take it over to my sewing machine and go and sew it, and come out and show you what I meant. So I've gone ahead to sew it. I've sewn the side, sewn the waist, sewn this other side, and look at what the hem part is looking, because I sewed the hem part first and I dragged the lining up to meet the waist, and it will drag our main working fabric upwards, which will give it that fold or hemming effect. So I left a little bit part where I brought it out to the right side, and this is it. At this point, you can now move over to your ironing table and go and give it a very good press, and everything will relax. So you can see the slit part here. The slit part is on its own, is relaxing on its own. So this part is where we are going to be sewing. So I'm going to bring the two back together like so, and I'm going to place it the right side facing each other, and we are going to start sewing from the zip side in order to insert our zip. So after placing the zip side together, we are going to, from the waist, measure where our zip is going to sit. I like my zip to be 1 inch below the hip line, and the other part I'm going to mark out the remaining allowance we have, which is 0.75, and I'm going to sew on it. From that place, I'm going to sew it to where our zip will stop, and I'm going to now insert zip at the other part that is open. That the part that I did not mark is the way I'm going to insert our zip. So I'm basically going to go over to my sewing machine and go and sew it, and also insert the zip, and also come back and show you what to do next. So I've gone ahead to insert the zip. You can see I also close the part that we don't need, and this is our slit. You can see that our slit is very open and it's looking so neat, and on its own you don't need to fold or hem anything. It's very neat. So make sure you get your perfect client slit length, so that you will not be closing and losing again. So this will give you a perfect finishing. The next thing we are going to do now is to repeat what we did on this back on the front line. For the front as well, we have transferred to fabric. We added 2 inches sewing allowance by the side, and on the center is on fold. Like I said, the center front is on fold. Waist, I added ½ inch, while the hem part, the lining is 2 inches shorter than the main fabric, our working fabric. And we are also going to use the same method we use for the back to turn it with the lining. So I'm basically going to open it up and place the lining on top of it like so. So after placing the lining on top of it, this is what the lining is looking like. I did not notice it when I bought it from the market until I reach home. I can see from the video that the lining is 2 inches shorter than the main fabric, which I drag it to the hem part. I'm going to sew on the hem part first before I went ahead to drag it upward like so, and now sew the side, the waist, and the other remaining side. So this is how you go about your sewing. You sew the hem part first, you drag your lining up, which I have gone ahead to sew. I have sewn the waist, sewn the both side, and this is what the hem part is looking. Once you drag it up, this is how it's gonna look. So we are also open up a side that we are going to use to turn it to the right side, and also go ahead and iron press it. So this is the both front and back. We are going to start closing the side by now you have gotten all the gist. The first thing I mark out is the waistline. So I went ahead to mark out the waistline, and I divided the remaining allowance into 2. I shared the allowance that was remaining by the side into 2 on both sides of the skate. You can see what I did there. So from my waistline, I'm going to mark out my waist to my hip line, and I'm going to input my hip measurement as well. So from one tip of the skate line like so, I mark out the hip, divide by 2. The remaining allowance, I'm going to share it equally on both sides, and that is how you go about the closing of your clothes. You can see I am sharing it on both sides. So after sharing it, I'm going to join the hip to my waistline on both sides. So I remeasure to be sure that my measurement is correct. On the knee line, I'm going to mark out the allowance I added on the pattern while transferring it to the fabric, which is 2 inches. But because I have turned some parts with lining, I'm going to mark out 1.75 inches from the knee line to the hem line, which are joined all over to the hip line like so. So I'm also going to repeat it on this other side, all over to the hem line, which I'm going to move over to my sewing machine to go and run a stitch on it. And that is it. Our pencil skate is basically ready. So I've gone ahead to sew it, and this is the outcome. At this point, you can just go ahead and give it a very thoroughly good press so that everything will sit properly. So if I watched to this point, you can see that the waist is curvy. Yap. If you have watched to this point, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and also subscribe. If you find this video helpful in any point, please subscribe to our channel. On this channel, we post more of sewing tutorial, and also press the notification bell so that you'll be the first to be notified anytime you post our tutorial.